Imagine it's a brisk fall evening with little children trick-or-treating in your neighborhood. They're ringing your doorbell and the doorbells of your neighbors. They take your candy and hand you a flyer. And that's when it hits you. These costumed children have been recruited by organizers hiding in the shadows. These children were plunged into the Service Employees International Union President Andy Stern's Persuasion of Power campaign, commonly known as a corporate campaign. The flyers boldly state that, quote, every night is a scary night for your employees in your company's house of horrors. Well, you don't have to imagine. The story is true. SEIU used children to spread vicious lies about you in your neighborhood, to your friends, your children's friends, and to your customers. It's hard to believe that it could happen in America, but not for Dave Bego and his family and the residents in his Indianapolis neighborhood. Dave lived with the daily threat of SEIU harassment for 3 years, all because he decided to protect his employees and their rights to a secret ballot union election. Dave Bego would not sign a neutrality agreement in an aggressive forced unionization campaign. When an employer signs a neutrality agreement, the employer agrees to eliminate their employees' rights to choose or not to choose a union through a secret ballot election. These agreements are not neutral, as the name implies. Neutrality agreements override basic employee rights to privately choose their own representation. However, if you are like Dave Bego, who allows his employees a secret ballot vote to decide whether they want union representation, well, SEIU organizers have something else in mind for you. To paraphrase one SEIU goon, they, quote, embrace confrontation, close quote. And that is exactly what happened to Dave Bego and his employees in Indiana, Ohio, and several other states. SEIU goons behaved shamelessly doing this so-called corporate campaign. Dave wrote a book about his experience with SEIU called The Devil at My Doorstep. And Dave talked with us about what he and his employees went through. A few clips from that interview follow. Over the next 2 weeks, segments of this entire interview will be posted at our YouTube page, Right to Work Committee. We will make the entire interview available in DVD format soon. We believe it's important that you know what depths union bosses will sink to intimidate workers and employees. This is real life, and this is what's at stake in the card check forced unionism battle. If the U.S. Senate passes Senate Bill 560, Dave's story will be coming to a neighborhood near you soon, maybe even your own front door.
At that point, he looked at me and he says, Mr. Bego, we enjoy conversation, but we embrace confrontation. We will start targeting your customers and your buildings within 30 days. So at that point, basically, what I dubbed as a war was initially on. They had young kids trick-or-treating in my neighborhood, and I think this is sad. And they would have the kids trick-or-treat at the door, get their candy, and then they would hand out flyers to our neighbors defaming my company, EMS, and this owner's company. And at the same time, and I was there, and they handed me one of these flyers. Parked across the street was a couple of SEIU organizers watching what was going on. The trick-or-treaters that were out passing out flyers. This is a picture of the flyer that you can see in the book, and calls it the House of Horrors. They had about 20 protesters come out on the golf course and march around in a circle with signs that said "Shame on EMS," and they were chanting "EMS must go" and "Dave Bego must go." And the sad part about this was that they had little kids marching in line with them. Down in Cincinnati, where we clean a college facility. I received a call one day from the local OSHA office, and the lady says, we've had a complaint filed against your company. And I said, okay, please explain to me what it is. And she says, well, the complaint alleges that your people are carrying human body parts out in bags every night and being forced to do this. And I was sitting in this chair that I'm sitting in today, and I just had to take just a second and step back, and I'm thinking, what is wrong with these people? We had another customer in Cincinnati where they actually had some of their people run into the building, run up the stairs, and hang a banner over the customer's building saying shame on them for not taking care of janitors. And it's a sad situation when you have people that are attacking other people just because they can't achieve their goals through normal business practices. And that's really what we're talking about here. It's also interesting some of the other things that the union employed, and I talked about some of their flyers, and I don't know how well this will show up, but there's a flyer they put out, what happens at Market Tower when the tenants go home for the day, and it defames EMS and talks about intimidation and firing of union supporters, worker exploitation, civil rights abuses, threatened physical violence, which never happened. On the flip side, as I told you earlier, some of our employees were intimidated and threatened by organizers outside the buildings. But during the campaign, I placed an ad in the Indianapolis Star and said, "Dear SEIU, please fish or cut bait." And in this article, I explained to them that we felt that we did the right things as a company and took care of our employees, but that if our employees want to have an election, we are willing to have one. But let's do it. And if we're going to do it, let's do it now. And if our employees decline the union, then they should leave us alone. And if they decide on the union, we as a company will accept that and move on and negotiate with the union. I never heard one response from this ad from the union. And I never ever got a response throughout the rest of the campaign to my suggestions we go ahead and have an election.
Card check isn't much of a choice.